What's going on, guys? Today's video I'm going to be discussing the installation. So first and foremost, some of you guys might be thinking, well, I'm just going to go ahead and plug and play. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and I want to walk you through the process. So I am going to be going a little bit beyond what is required, but I'm going to be doing new PEX piping as well. But let's go ahead and go around to the backside. Now with the new Tankless, you can't use this exhaust pipe coming from your tank to a Tankless. No matter what brand, Ream or Rennie, I believe you pronounce it. Don't quote me on that one. The other very popular tankless brand, you need a special proprietary 3x5 pipe we're going to show you in just a second here. That gets pretty pricey. That's why most people go for the angle out the side of the house right here. It gets pretty pricey if you're trying to shoot a 6-foot tube up, not to mention you're gonna have to probably enlarge your hole in your ceiling, in your roof as well. So we're gonna show you that, keep that in mind. So again, not quite plug and play, not too difficult if you know what you're doing, but some key factors involved. Let's go back to the parts. Okay, so this is the 7 gallon per minute, perfect for 2 bathrooms. If you have a big house, you might wanna beef it up to the larger one. This one I believe is about $730 or $750 or so. I will have it linked in the description box below. And this particular one is gonna be for propane. We're out here in the country, but same process applies with natural gas as well. The last property I was at had natural gas, and they sell it in natural gas or they sell it in propane. This is the propane model once again, but the installation video will be very similar for natural gas. Now this tankless does require a 120 volt power outlet, which most of you guys will have conveniently probably already done. We are actually going to be putting in a separate outlet. I do have one behind this drywall right here. Here's my box. We will be putting one in right here. Most of you guys will have this in your utility room, garage. You'll probably have an outlet already in there. Next up, just like the picture we see here, we're gonna need a special valve kit that you can purchase through Ream as well. Ream has their own, but this was almost half the price with amazing reviews on Amazon. Pretty much everything you see I got at Home Depot. The vent kit we're going to show you, but this was significantly cheaper on Amazon. Stellar reviews, same exact thing. And these are going to be your valves here. That I think was around $60. I think Ream wanted about 120, 130 for their valves. So that's going to boost up your price a little bit there as well. You got $730, $750 on this. You got about $60 on this. And then I believe this is about $90, I believe, for the category 3 stainless steel tankless water heater venting kit. And this again is the venting kit that's going to go out the side of the house just like it's pictured here. This is an easier install, even though I do have the pipe going up into my roof. This is actually going to be cheaper and an easier install. And not to mention, I won't have to build out a frame to get that perfect to go straight up where the old one is. It's going to be flush against the studs going straight out like this. We're going to be right back to the video, but I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Manscaped. They've come out with amazing new products, and of course, their brand new Lawnmower 4.0 performance package comes with a set of boxers that I highly recommend you pick up more of these. I wear these pretty much every day until I'm out, then I got to throw them back in the washing machine. Super comfortable. Great for training. The Lawnmower 4.0 performance package also comes with your ears and nose trimmer. All your other goodies as we can see here. And of course your Lawnmower 4.0 with LED light and ceramic blade. Waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. I have full tutorial videos on this channel, and we'll link that below as well. They also have their brand new straight razor and body wash. These are just a few of the new products I've gotten my hands on. If you want to see their full lineup, it's my direct link below. It's going to take you straight to the website. The code will be automatically applied for you. Get whatever you want, as little or as much as you want. Enjoy your products, guys. They're great products. I highly recommend them. So head below after the video is done. Where, see how this one's brought out from the tank? I would actually have to build out a small frame to line up with this hole and go straight up right there. Not to mention, that's going to take up all this extra space here, where now my unit's going to be up against the studs, going out this wall right here. I'm gonna have all this area here free to maybe hang up my Dyson vacuum, some utility stuff. Who knows? We'll figure that out. Next up, we have ourselves a little drain tube here. That you could probably find cheaper. I actually bought that at Home Depot, and I think they overcharged big time. That was like 26 bucks or something like that. I think that was kind of a ripoff. You could probably find one on Amazon a lot cheaper. We're gonna put a shutoff valve in that little utility room there for convenience, and some PEX clamps as well. Not to mention PEX piping that we already have. Now, with regards to natural gas or propane, this ream in particular and all the other ones that I have found have 3/4 of a gas propane pipe coming into them, and using a reducer, from what I've heard, does work. Don't quote me on that one. Do your own research, please. But it just won't be very effective, a 3/4 pipe coming into your unit. And besides that, there's going to be some connectors, some propane natural gas connectors that you probably might need if your line isn't perfectly right there. That's going to add up a little bit as well. So first and foremost, what you want to do is you want to find your main water cutoff. If you have a separate one that goes to exactly that water heater, that is beneficial. You guys living in the city will probably have it out on the curb. I have mine underneath right here. And so turn the main water off so that no water goes back into that tank, because we're going to drain the 40-gallon for EVZ removal. All right, here's a little tip for you here. Make sure that if you are out in the country that you depressurize the tank or cut off your pump circuit if you have a breaker for that. Reason being is we had a little corrosion on our hot water input right here. We had a little bit of a leak, not too bad. It could have been worse, but definitely depressurize your system. Make sure all the water is off. So what you do here is just open up your valves, your shower, your kitchen sink, let it depressurize. Even if you're in the city, cut off the main valve, turn on your other units, making sure the water is completely emptied, and then proceed carefully. Again, we had a lot of corrosion on top of our hot water heater connection up here. And as we remove that, what we have here is right below, typically to the right, it's going to be right around this area here of your pilot lighting connection box right here. We've hooked up a long garden hose right here, and then you open up the valve to drain it. And that is draining out in the field here. All right, it's still draining right now. Again, this is 40 gallons that's going to go out in the field. If you live in a residential area, just do a long hose out to your grass. It is going to be hot water, so just consider that. Now here, this is our propane valve for you natural gas guys. It's going to be very similar. You're going to find your lever for your natural gas pipe, in this case propane pipe, and we have turned that to a 90-degree angle. If it was on, it would be flowing parallel with the pipe, but we've cut it off. So turn off your propane or natural gas for the removal of this process once it is finished draining. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the propane section first. It's very important to grab the top of the valve here. My dad has 2 wrenches on it. It's gonna be on there pretty tight. There we go there. As you can see there, holding the bottom one steady as he loosens the top one lefty-loosey, of course. We're going to remove the propane valve that goes to the pilot light control box. Alrighty, so you need to take off this hose right here. Unfortunately, this is 9 years old and really corroded, so we just cut it right here. Once again, our control box has been removed here. Our drainage hose is gone now. Our hot water copper pipe that goes to the top is removed, and we've removed this section of the venting pipe right here. Now it is free to get on out of here, and it's not very heavy at all once 40 gallons is unloaded out of there. So we're gonna bring it out and remove it. All right, the unit's out of the box here, but let's quickly show you what you get inside here. Inside we get a pressure valve. We get one little 3/4 red knob turn. We get our remote. We get our remote wiring. We got screws and washers, and our manual. Coming over here to the unit, vent pipe right here, and coming down on the bottom is our power cable here, and our knobs down here at the bottom. Now it says gas, but liquid propane gas is the one that I bought. Again, natural gas is pretty much going to be identical to this, but of course this would be for natural gas and not liquid propane gas. That's why you need all those other assortment. There's not too much in the box. Okay, before you do destroy the box, on the back is going to be a template guide. Now they do sell an outdoor unit as well, and the indoor template is a little bit larger. So the outdoor unit is about 3 inches or so shorter height-wise, but you go ahead and cut that out. let's go ahead and show you what we have so far here. I pulled up the old vinyl here. We're gonna put a little floor leveler patch there, redo the drywall, of course. Now for future resale, we're actually gonna keep our old water inlet right here, and we're just gonna cap it, and we drilled a new hole down here. We're gonna go ahead and cap this as well. We'll get rid of that pipe, the old one over there, or at least put it almost flush. At least get rid of this smaller tube. That one is really high up. You'll never bang your head on that. Plus this is gonna be enclosed. And the reason why is that if I ever do sell this property and move, the new owners will be able to have all their connections to just literally drop 40 gallon, 50 gallon back in here. So sometimes you gotta think forward. I don't really care about one pipe sticking up. My closet's gonna be drywalled off on this side. And again, on this side is gonna be a hidden door with hidden hinges with some floating shelves that swings out, and my tankless is gonna be inside. And like I already mentioned, a couple Dysons, something like that, Swiffer, whatever, broom in here as well. Okay, so we got some new pecs coming up right here. We have some new tees down below as well. Not mandatory if you have your setup already done. The reason we did that is we wanted to move this over. Now we went a step further and we put a valve on each lever. So there's one lever underneath for the main water supply. We have the hot and cold water supply with a cutoff valve as well. And it was about 10, 50, 11 bucks for this extra cutoff valve, but we said, you know what, since we're here, we might as well do it. Totally overkill, don't need that, but it is nice to have. God forbid you do get a water leak. Anyway, we have our PEX connections right here sticking out and right there, like I already mentioned. And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get that template out. I wanna see where I wanna mount this. Again, our vent is gonna go out through the stud. We only have one stud, which is pushed over right there. So what we're probably gonna do is mount this obviously on a stud. The next stud is way over here behind this framing right here. So what I might have to do for a nice secure connection is maybe put a 2x4 across, toe-nailed, nailed in to this stud over here and this stud, and that will give me one stud and then another 2x4 to screw into for a little bit better holding capabilities there. All right, well, the coffee's brewing. Let's go ahead and go over the next steps of what we accomplished today. So we have the unit mounted here, but let's go ahead and go down here and I'm gonna show you a couple tips that we did. Okay, remember we talked about the outlet right there? So we ran new cabling from our breaker box right here. And it's not a necessity, but definitely check and see how many products are running off of the outlet that you were gonna go. And I'm talking about on your breaker box. So I had all my smart lights, my bedroom, my bathroom light and fan, which is under construction. And so my dad and I decided to go ahead and run this outlet on its own 20 amp breaker. This one is on the one previous, so the tankless water heater will have its own. Not a necessity, but definitely double check with that. Depends how many outlets you have running on the same breaker. On its own breaker, but it is totally unnecessary. In the directions of the unit, it actually states right here, it only draws a maximum of 3 amps of current. But it says do not connect it to a GFCI or AFCI circuit. So keep that in mind as well. You can hardwire it if you really want to, if required by local codes, the instructions say. So again, totally overkill. Parts were cheap. We had an opening already in here. Drywall was already banged out, so we went ahead and did it. Streamlined it. Pretty cool nonetheless. Okay, so we got that in. We've already talked about our pipes down here. Unfortunately, the bolts it came with are really rinky-dinky. We actually used some nice lag bolts. And yeah, sure, we probably would have wanted to put it right in here. This is gonna hold just fine. And something to save you a little bit of trouble. If you're going for the straight up vent method, then follow the directions. And here is our top bolt, dead center. Don't make the mistake of mounting that when you're going for your angled out outside the side wall vent, because there obviously is going to be a stud right there because you're mounting it to a stud. So what we had to do, again, like we discussed, we toe-nailed in a screw and a nail. We toe-nailed in right there into a stud. Those two nails are in a stud, and then we came over here. That is a 2x4, and then we did the lag bolt into the 2x4, and we're looking really good there. We've marked out our center of our vent tube, which we're going to accomplish tomorrow when it's a little bit warmer. And currently filming this, it's around supper time, so we quit for the day. I'm going to go ahead and patch all this drywall up. Anyway, again, coming underneath the bottom, one lag bolt in there. The cord is plenty long enough to reach. That cord is actually a solid, probably I want to say guesstimated 4.5 feet or so. I'll actually have to put a little cord management on there, but that will reach wherever you need that to go. That could even reach, for some oddball reason, if I really wanted to, out to this one. Obviously, it's not going to look very good. That's why we put the outlet in the interior portion. So now having it a little bit off center, so now with our side vent, like we talked about going out the side, we will have plenty of room in this section. So again, we're not butting up against a stud. We're gonna go straight out the middle, right on top with our... Now this is what a portion of the tube looks like here. This fits on top and slides all the way down, and then you... All right, since we last left you, let's go ahead and go underneath the house, and we're gonna show you what we have done with the piping. Now this obviously probably will be different than yours, depends on what kind of piping you use. Because we use this new flexible yellow insulation piping, the old one is right here, and the previous owner accidentally went a little too far with that insulation down. That's not how you're supposed to do it. We'll show you the proper way upstairs in just a second here, but it still works. So by using this new gas propane tubing right here instead of all black pipe, you need to ground it. So we have an 8-foot grounding rod in the ground with our connection here, and then our copper wire grounded here in our BX cable here, and sanded down the black pipe and our connection right here. That's again if you're going to be using this type of piping here. This is how you're supposed to do it here. According to the instructions, we have a nice flexible 25-foot pipe going all the way to our tankless. Sorry, it's filthy down here. We need to do a little bit of cleaning. We have our connection right here. We have our black T. We have our black pipe connection right here. Our proper piping goop. Our T connection. Our small connection here going into the main house. And this is the one that's filtered in from our propane tank right here. So that's what mine looks like here. And the top yellow one that looks new, that is our, again, our brand new one going up to our tankless. The connections weren't too hard to put in. You just need proper pipe wrenches and pipe goop. And we're, of course, are going to be testing for leaks after. All right, we're going to be showing you this connection here in just a second to our propane connection. But I want to talk about this piping once again real quickly here. This, again, is the newer CSST flexible gas propane piping. And what my dad was explaining is that the Japanese actually started manufacturing this because of earthquakes with black iron piping. And then once the American contractors found out about it, they adopted it and loved it. It's more costly, more expensive per linear foot, but it is a lot easier to install. Obviously, this wraps up in a 25-foot flexible ring, where black pipe obviously does not. Now up here, we have ourselves a 3/4 brass adapter here. Now your unit, we already showed you, does come with a couple fittings, but the fitting it came with, which is this one right here, this is for black iron pipe. So use that if you're going with black iron, but because we're going with CSST, we needed a different adapter. So we have pipe goop on our connection here, and we're gonna go ahead and tighten that up. And we went with a brass connection to avoid corrosion. We weren't sure about the black iron connector, so we went with brass instead. We might have got corrosion if we went black iron to this. That's why we went brass to this. Here's the pipe goop we're using right here. I'll try to link that in the description box below, as with other products we are using. This comes in just a 1 3/4 ounce little tube, pipe thread sealant, slow dry, soft set, number 5. And that is suitable for gas. And now we're tightening on our connection right here, which has a yellow knob, cutoff valve, and this particular valve is for your CSST flexible piping. And we're leaving this nut on to protect the threads while we're tightening this up top here. And we'll give you a little example about how to cut this pipe down to size and put on your connections. Super simple to do. All right, so now what we have here is a pipe cutter. Do not use a hacksaw because you're gonna get little metal filings inside of the gas pipe, which you do not want. So you use yourself a nice pipe cutter right here. And then once you have it according to the length we want, we've already checked underneath the bottom of the house. It's not sitting on the ground, and we have enough to go straight up and connect to our connector right there. So a couple little turns of the pipe cutter and it will slice it just beautifully clean off. Okay, beautiful. So now we're gonna show you how to properly cut back your insulation for the proper connector. There are two different types of connectors. One you have to cut back a little bit more, which is the one that we have. So we're gonna show you that now. This is a ProFlex connector that we're gonna be using. And so what you have to do in this scenario, we need to count back 5 valleys, which we see right here, and you want to go ahead and use a utility knife, strip off the insulation all the way around. Just go around in a circle again, and then once you go all the way around, then we're going to hit it at a 90-degree.
Tell them that the inspectors don't want to see any bare metal wire or metal corrugated tubing. It's a common mistake made by many amateur installers. We're amateur, but at least we read instructions.
That looks good right there. See how it's perfectly done. 5 valleys back once again, because we are going to be putting on our clamp and O-ring here in just a second. But as my dad was saying, let me restate it, that inspectors do not want to see any bare piping when they are inspecting. So according to the directions, this is how you do it here.
This will go on to the tube there, just kind of rest it.
The threads facing you, so let me show you here. That's the back. This is the threads facing you, so it inserts in like this. Just brace that like that.
And gently pull this apart where it'll fit. You don't want to break the little connection there. That goes on the 4th groove, according to the instructions.
So you've cut it back to the 5th, and this goes on the 4th. Once that goes on the 4th, then you want to just pinch it hand tight in the 4th valley together so it doesn't fall off. Then
the solid stainless steel ring goes on.
Then you butt that up right against the one you just pinched.
And then the rubber O-ring.
Rubber O-ring goes on top, and just put it up against that. And you do not use pipe dope on these type of connectors, which makes it a cleaner install. Then once those things are good to go, we're gonna go ahead and hand tighten this, and then we're gonna go ahead and get a wrench on there, but we want it nice and snug. Don't overdo it because we don't want to crush the O-ring inside. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and hold it steady on the top using a crescent wrench, and we're gonna go ahead and, again, tighten that down nice and snug. Don't overdo it.
That's about right there.
Okay, so then we use a galvanized tube strap over here, 3/4 inch, and let's go ahead and look at our connection here. We have it straight up to our tankless with a slight bend, and that's totally okay, strapped in right there on our brace, and then coming straight down our hole under the house, which we've already seen our connections below. All right, now to check it, you can use one of those leak detection pins, which are actually really cool. We're gonna go a little old school, and this is a little bit cheaper. This is a gas leak detection solution. So my dad's gonna turn on the main propane tank to the lines, and then we're gonna dribble this on our joints, just like you see in this little picture right here. And if you get bubbling, that is not good. That means you have a leak. If there's no bubbles, you're good to go. All right, since we last left you, we were able to connect a few of the tubes so far, and let's talk you through that just briefly. We already saw this, of course, and we just put back on our little sticker for kicks and giggles. And then we put on our valves we got on Amazon. I'll have those linked below. You're gonna save about 50%. They got great reviews. Again, I'll link them below. We have our valves right here. Everything's looking good. Our knobs are shut. We put Teflon tape right here and right here. Make sure that's watertight. And down here and down here. Now we used PEX 3/4 MNPT male adapter, and what that is that's 3/4 adapter screwed in. The 3/4 threaded goes into our connection here, and then our male portion PEX 3/4 goes here, clamped it on with a 3/4 clamp. 3/4 clamp, same thing, method applies right here. Everything else is stock up here for that, and the product that you purchase does come with Teflon tape as well. And this is by the company Tanzo. You can buy the more expensive Ream ones, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. So we added one more 2x4 right here. So our PEX are clamped with PEX clamps, 3/4 PEX clamps. It's easier on the PEX piping. Sure, this should be blue, but obviously we know cold white, hot red, 3/4 PEX. We've already seen our valves right here, and we have pipe doped and put on a 1/2-inch cap on top with our lever in the off position. That is for our old water heater. All right, let's give you a slight update here. We have drilled a hole in the wall. We went a little bit higher than expected just so that we can get our vent tube through and connected on top of our unit here. We have it covered up, and definitely covered up. You don't want drywall, insulation, dust getting into the top of your venting unit right here. Let's go ahead and show you our high temperature silicone tubing that I think was overpriced, but it is what it is. Comes with a little clamp on top, as does the unit as well, with this little black little portion you have to remove. Here's the clamp that was already on the unit. You can use that if it's a little bit more convenient. That one has a little screw on top of it, kind of like your car type of a clamp right there. All right, so here's our tubing. One size fits all. Again, I'll have this linked in the description box below. It's a 500-degree tubing, and you have to put a 5-inch, what's called P-trap circular loop in it, and it has zip ties that are provided as well. We have a PEX connection right here, our loop trap. We'll go ahead and cable management that just a little bit better. And then what it wants you to do, according to the directions, it wants this to go into a proper drainage area. And so what we're gonna do here, before that though, you do need to, according to the directions, fill it up with a 1/2 cup of water, and that will put a seal in the P-trap for emergency excess that flows out of the vent tube in here. This will trap it in the 5-inch P-trap. So what we're gonna do, because this is 1/2-inch, we're actually going to get a 1/2-inch PEX connector, but not clamp it, just in case we need to add more water in the future for some reason. If there's a lot of condensation and then it drains as it should drain, then we would need to fill it up. So we'll show you that process, but we're not going to clamp it for easy removal so it drains properly. Okay, now for the remote control, you got to remove your cover, which has one screw that's right under here like this. Making sure your wire goes through the bottom portion up, and according to the picture, I've done it just the same way as the picture. White cable is right here down below, screwed in. Black cable on top, screwed in right here. And on the back of my remote control, let me go ahead and remove the wall plate. Now, if you're gonna go through a wall, you wanna route your wires through the wall plate and then through the hole wherever you're going. If you're not, and it's just gonna be up against a stud, then what you wanna do is you wanna go ahead and notch out this little notch right here, as you can see where the wire is. You're gonna have to cut it out. It's already kind of super flimsy for this purpose. And then again, the black wire on top, the white wire on the bottom, and then you're gonna screw in your back plate first to the wall, and then see when that notch is cut out, sits nice and flush, and then you'll put in your little screw on the bottom to hold it together. And so we're gonna put that out of the way for right now, and then we're gonna cable management this, because that's gonna be super long, and we'll cable management the actual plug when we're ready to go. So coming back up to the hole here, I would strongly recommend putting your insulation out of the way like this. And before we do the final install, I'm actually going to shove a little bit more insulation in there. You want to have your outside hole, according to the directions, 5.5 inches. And so we kind of centered it up with that little small hole on the right. You want your outside hole to be a little bit more precise. This inside hole, we'll use the provided metal flange that goes up against the wall. We'll put some caulk around it, shove some more insulation in there so it's nice and weatherproof. This is Colorado. It's currently snowing right now, and I'd rather not have a draft coming in. Now, I once again will link the vent pipe that we are using, but if I was aware of it, they actually have more of a streamlined, low-profile one, which let me show you here. I actually just saw it this morning. They actually offer a few different ones right here. This one is actually cheaper than the one we purchased right here, but you don't get the metal flange going around there like this. This one requires a 4-degree downward slope, and it fits up to 10-inch walls here, where this one, I'll let you guys pause this and read these ones right here. If I could go back and do it again, I would buy this one with a better look to it on the outside than this one, which is going to be sticking out looking like this. While I'm talking about it and thinking about it, let me show you our pressure relief valve here on the left side. This is threaded. We're gonna get another 3/4 to 3/4 male PEX adapter, the same type of adapter we used on these ones here, the hot and cold, and we're gonna send that down our fresh cut hole right here for the pressure relief to go underneath the house. Some people use copper. PEX is a lot cheaper and easier. You don't have to sweat it. You got your crimpers, your clampers like we've already showed you. Super easy peasy. We'll show you that when it's installed. Now definitely go through your checks once you have turned the unit on. Let me make a long story short. So let's go ahead and look at all my connections here. Once again, everything is dialed in. It's not turned on right now though. So if you do get this mistake, it's an easy fix. So let me show you my hot water one. See these little small beads of water right where my thumb is? That is just a very, very small bead of water. With that said, that's not good. You don't want any beads, you don't want any leaks at all. Not huge, but moisture, you don't want that. So what I've done, now in this circumstance, unfortunately, it's not as easy as loosening, putting more Teflon tape on. You gotta remove the PEX ring in my case. Not very hard at all. A flathead screwdriver lifted underneath the little lip on the very back, pulling it forward and kind of twisting it as you're doing that, and then getting some like crimper tools and peeling it back. Obviously, if you do this, making sure your main water is off, very nice to have these valves up top. So I cut off the water there, I cut off the water up here, and then the only water you're gonna have is just this little like 2.5 foot section right here. It's not pressurized, it didn't spew all over the place when we disconnected it. A little on the top, we just shook into a bucket, like maybe 2 inches worth. We put a towel down just in case. This is what the PEX ring looks like when it is removed. All dangled mangled, throw that away obviously. So sure, we probably could have wrapped it with more Teflon, but in honesty, after reading the directions, it says you can use pipe dope. So we used the same number 5 pipe dope as we did for the gas. My dad likes it better. I don't blame him. This is what it looks like when it's dried. He said he's had issues with Teflon in the past. So I pipe doped the inside of this thread right here around. I pipe doped again my PEX 3/4, and then I inserted that hand tight, tightened it down nice and firm, making sure my new PEX clamp was on my pipe, inserted it back in, and crimped it. This one will be good to go now, but I'm gonna have to do the same thing to this one to remove this little drop of water like I just said. If you don't wanna do pipe dope, totally up to you. Just making sure that you wrap that around 5 times at least. 5 times is what the directions say, but I think I'm gonna feel a little bit more confident in the pipe dope than Teflon tape. Now, before I do forget, if you are using PEX and you come across this same mistake, the brass goes down right about where my fingernail is, somewhere right there. We actually had enough to wiggle room. Make sure you do that or you're gonna have to cut out the section and redo it. We had enough wiggle room where we cut below the brass. Don't mess up your PEX brass. We cut below it, and so that's a fresh cut tube clamped once again. I want to clarify that. So in this case, I'm going to cut it below my brass. We have some wiggle room on that pipe, and I'll do the same method. Alrighty, we're going to be closing up that gap there. I'm putting some drywall up. That's my master bedroom closet. The yellow pipe dope is holding beautifully, as we can see here and over there. No drips. Love it. Now, before I forget, I do want to talk about how some people have sediment traps connected right here to their gas line. Because we have propane, and propane is filtered by the tank and regulated a little bit better than natural gas, which who knows how far it travels, picking up sediment. That's why natural gas has the sediment pipe. So you'll have this connected like into the side of a sediment pipe, which is this like capped off like 8-inch or so, and then it goes up there. That just means that if there's any dirty particles, it falls down in the sediment trap before entering into your unit. Because this is propane, we're not going to do the sediment trap. I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that or not, but we're not concerned. But do your own research. before making that decision. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and wrap this up and show you the final install here. So with the vent piping, you have self-tapping screws that go all the way around the base here. It slips down on top. And then again, we have a very slight angle down on the outside. Here's our metal flange around. And there was just a slight gap. So here you see more self-tapping screws. I believe there's 4 total on each side. I did shove some insulation in that little gap right there. Probably will paint that white or just leave it as is because this is going to be a utility closet. Shove some insulation of that old piping there as well for kicks and giggles. Our P-trap is looking really good. We actually have some nasty condensation, what looks like in that P-trap. As we can see there, it's a little dusty on that side, but as you can see. Now, it's been a year since we installed this and absolutely loving it. Hot water for days. It doesn't go cold on you after 40 gallons. My only complaint about it is it does take a while, especially with the guest bathroom way down the hallway. It takes a while for the water to warm up, at least 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes before I jump in the shower. Brushing teeth, just as long. Obviously, it's in Colorado. If it's super cold outside, it will take longer. If it's a hot summer day, pipe's already nice and hot, won't take as long. All right, looking at our connections here, I still need to go ahead and cord management that. Yes, it has been a year, but I've been working on the master bath and I'm gonna get to the utility closet afterwards. So let's show you what we haven't showed you yet, and that is our P-trap right here. Again, coming down with a 1/2 inch PEX, slipped in, going underneath the house, which then exits the side of the house, so water doesn't dump below the house, obviously. And I put insulation in all those holes. That right there is a Wi-Fi water leak detection sensor. It's been a year, like I said. The pipe dope. I love it. Haven't had one drop, no leaks. I highly recommend that over the Teflon. I keep my unit, here's my remote control. I keep my unit at 120 degrees. You can jack that up if you want, but I recommend 120. We've seen all the other connections down below. My furnace is kicking on, so you'll hear that in the background. Let's go outside. And if I didn't get that clear shot, there's your top of your P-trap flex cable right there. And this is what the outside of the house looks like here. It's not a big eyesore. You do get used to it, but that low profile one, I highly recommend that if you'd rather go that route. I am planning on painting my house, and when I do paint the house white and put board and batten on, I will put some high temperature white spray paint over that. That is stainless steel, and I will paint it with high temperature paint and put some caulking around that as well. As you can see right there, there was just a gap around the flange, and I put some insulation tucked in there as well for no drafts coming in. As you can see, it is snowing Colorado, January now, so it does get a little cold, some drafts, so no drafts is a good thing. Well, folks, that's going to be the install video. If you wouldn't mind, if you've watched it this long, please thumbs that video up. Helps the channel in the YouTube algorithm. Also, look in the description box right below the video for all the links that you could possibly need for this video. And like I said, overall, I've enjoyed it very, very much. Once that water does get going, you do not have to worry about it. You can jump in and out. Your kids jump in and out, have 2 bathrooms going at the same time. Hot water for days. It's a thumbs up in my book. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see this master bath, custom LED lighting. We're going to put a freestanding tub in, wavy tile, accent wall, marble on the sides. I got my bedroom videos up. Sorry, my bed's messy. My dog's messed that up a little bit. So we got a lot of awesome things on the channel. You have a great day. Your links are going to be once again below. Have a great day. Don't let the party stop, guys. Hit one of these videos, continue to watch, and we'll see you soon.